Welcome to episode 15 of the This is Reportage podcast. My name is Alan Law, I'm the founder of TIR, and I'm a wedding photographer too. Today I'm really excited to have the fab Leonard Walpot with us. Based in the Netherlands, he was joint second overall in our top photographers of 2019 and actually won the most Reportage Awards. Stick with us today to hear the story behind one of his specific Reportage Awards, the girl lying down in the ceremony, such a great image, his political photography and how that affects his wedding work, his workflow and how he edits, why you should watch 1917, what he's afraid of, how he uses flash, and so much more. Hey Leonard, how are you doing?
Hey Alan, I'm fine, thanks man.
Oh, cool! Really great to talk to you. Yeah,
yes,
thanks.
Yeah. Good to hear you.
We were just talking just before starting this, and it's strange for me to hear people's voices after seeing little Facebook profiles for so long.
Yeah, it surprises you every time, right?
Yeah,
I can imagine. Yeah.
And we were also just talking about how to pronounce your name, so Leonard or Leonard, but I'm going to call you Leonard. That's okay.
Yeah, perfect.
That's cool. Good stuff. So yeah, how are you doing? How's things?
Yes, I'm good. Yeah, it's always feels a bit strange, this in between time of still finishing off the last season, because I still have some work to do, and already preparing myself for the next wedding season. So I always have the idea, okay, in wintertime I'm going to relax. I'm going to do stuff for my for my own fun and pleasure. But well, in the end, it's just finishing off stuff and already being busy with the next year. So it feels a bit strange, and winter doesn't help, to be honest.
What's the weather like over in Holland at the moment?
Well, it's a bit of around 0 to 1 or 2 degrees.
Oh, that's not nice.
So no. I do like the sun more, actually.
Yeah, I mean, it is a funny time of year for us, isn't it? And do you have any specific kind of plans for this year? Anything that you're specifically going to change or try new things or put more energy into something?
For me, this year will be, hopefully, I will continue what I'm doing over the past few years. So not any specific big changes or plans. I see the work that I do is too much to do on my own. So So last year, my wife joined me in my business. So we're with the two of us right now.
Oh, cool. Does she shoot with you as well, or?
She joins me in, well, about 10, 15 weddings each year to be a second shooter, but she does a lot of my editing.
Cool. That's handy.
Yeah. And also for some other photographers, she does editing work. So I'm growing. My business is growing, which sounds funny and weird to say, but that's the fact. And I think I like that part of photography as well, being an entrepreneur or running a business. Yes.
Yeah. Oh, so do I. Totally agree with you. I really enjoy that side of it as well. I guess it's very subjective. A lot of photographers don't like that side, but I think it's good if you can enjoy it, because it's such an important part of the business, isn't it?
Yeah, I never realized I was able to enjoy that. But when I started out as a full-time wedding photographer, I found that that I like to have that part as well. And I think still it is finding a balance between a photographer and being an entrepreneur, running a business.
That's true.
But I think in order to make a living out of photography, you have to balance that life between following your passion as a photographer. Sounds beautiful, right? But I think there's a responsibility for me as a father, as a husband, as a family man as well, to be able to run my business in a financial healthy way. So
totally.
I need to combine those things. Yeah.
No, that's cool. And it sounds like you're doing it really well at the moment, and you obviously are, because I need to congratulate you on coming joint second overall in our top photographers of 2019, which is an amazing achievement. You actually won the most Reportage Awards out of anyone of the year with 11, which is fantastic.
Yeah. Thanks. But I need to make sure that I will be putting more effort in my stories this year, giving the change of rules, which I totally agree with. So that's good to do, man. Yeah.
Oh, that's cool. Yeah.
I think because this reportage will set itself apart and stand out from other competitions as well by putting more energy, putting more weight on the story awards, I guess. So that's a good thing.
Oh, that's cool. Cool. Thank you. I mean, yeah, and obviously I agree, but I do also think, it's still very valid to be celebrating these individual moments that are captured brilliantly. It really is. And as I say, you won 11, which is amazing. So, yeah, so how do you do it? I know it's a very broad question, but, why do you think you've won so many? What is the secret to capturing so many brilliant individual moments?
I think the idea of this is reportage, like nothing staged, nothing post, is really what that could be the tagline of my business. I think
That's
so.
cool.
I think in order looking at that, it's according to what this is reportage wants to show. That is really what I do. That is really what my aim is in shooting weddings. I don't pose anything. I don't touch anything. What you see is really how things were. I do not want to interfere, so that's not very English, but
No, no, that's
I don't want to interfere. I think that's the correct word.
yeah, definitely.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, that's cool, and you are nailing it though, and you're so creative. I think your work is so dynamic and artistic. It's brilliant. I was going to talk about it later, but just while it's in my
Yeah.
head now, I love one of your specific Reportage Awards where it's like at a ceremony, and at the front a girl is lying like kind of face down,
Yeah.
and the ceremony is just carrying on. It looks like with her, it's like face down, lying down. It's such a kind of surreal, awesome moment. Can you
Yeah.
tell us a bit more about what was happening there?
Yeah, everyone asks me about that picture. Some people don't see it at first glance looking at it, but then
I like that
suddenly,
though as well.
then it's suddenly there's, hey, what? There's a girl lying. What's going on? So it's a picture that raises questions, and I think I like that of photography as well. I mean, you were able to tell a story, but at the same time, you were able to, people are going to ask questions about what's happening there. And in
Mm.
this particular image, it's very basic. Actually, it's the couples, which you can see by the back of the heads. It's their daughter. And she was running around for like 15 or 30 or 15, 20 minutes during the ceremony. And at some point she got exhausted and she just laid down on the altar there. So, which is the story and basically is the scene at the same time as well. Yeah.
Oh, it's cool. It's cool. I just think it really shows the kind of surrealness of weddings that they can be just so they're all so individual and some are quite bizarre. And I think, yeah, that image for me, it really kind of shows the power of photography as well, is that you
Uh-huh.
don't really know what is going on, and it's open to different kind of interpretations,
Oh
really. But
yes, yes, exactly. Because this picture did raise a lot of questions when it went online as well, uh, where people really ask, "What is everything all right with this girl?" And I think people were real when asking that. So, but it's a fun story in the end. It's just she was
yeah,
tired and she was laying down, and I think that's the beauty of shooting weddings. You get so, I mean, this is also in some way getting close to people to witness what is happening inside a family when they celebrate something.
mm,
When you see that specific and particular stuff happen, I think that's the beauty of shooting weddings.
that's cool. Yeah, definitely. And they'll be able to look back on that as well as it's only maybe a small moment in their day, but they'll be able to
Yeah.
look back at it and remember it. And yeah, it's awesome. I'll if people are listening now whilst they're editing or running or walking, I'll head to this reportage.com and I'll include that image in the post. You should definitely check it out. It's great. Let's go back in time a little bit then. I read that you graduated as a linguist. Is that right?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, you're
That
correct.
that's cool. I mean, I can clearly hear that you're speaking at least one other language brilliantly. So
Well,
do
the funny thing is, it was Dutch language and cultures. That was the name of my studies. So, but
oh,
yeah,
okay.
yeah.
Ah, cool. So how did you get started in that? Is that something you always wanted to, I guess you were always interested in? And how did you go from being, graduating as a linguist to weddings?
Yeah, I like language. So that's a thing of obviously.
Hmm.
But I started out when I first got to university. I studied communication sciences,
Okay.
and the part of the curriculum that I exceeded, that I graduated for, was also the part of Dutch language and cultures. And at some point they said, okay, you probably go and move into Dutch language and cultures. But it took a while, because it took a while for me to graduate 3 year studies, and in the end it took me 6 years to graduate.
All right.
So no academic has been lost with me skipping all that stuff and going into photography, so to say.
Okay.
If that makes sense. Yeah, because after I graduated, I got to work for an NGO.
Oh, okay.
And I did. So I was writing grant proposals for USAID and EuropeAid and
Wow.
all that kind of stuff. And after a year, I got home and I was burned out. I was still very young, to be honest. I was like 22, 23 years old.
Right.
But at the time I was already married and we had our first son was born already. So I think it all piled up and it was just too much doing the stuff that I probably didn't really want to do in the end. So it took me a year to recover and to reset basically. And I got into photography because it was my hobby before. I did some stuff for other people, and they asked me to shoot a wedding once or twice or three times earlier
Okay.
during my studies. And when I recovered, I was able to do something else again. And from that moment on, I was like, okay, and when I'm going to do this photography, it needs to be good. And I'm only going to do this if I am going to give it my best. And it started that way actually. So some day I had to say, okay, I'm a photographer now, and this is what I'm going to do, and I want to do it at the best way possible. And it started from there by shooting 5 or 6 weddings in 2013, and it was 20 weddings in 2014, and it was 30 weddings in 2015.
Oh, wow.
So it went quite quickly. And sometimes I try to go back to that time and I think, what was the secret? I mean, sometimes people ask, how do I get more weddings? You know, people who start for the first time or in the second year or third year and still struggling with getting more bookings. But I don't know the answers actually. I think the if I go back and say what was the secret, it also lies in not only being a photographer but also being an entrepreneur.
Right. Yeah.
Basically.
I mean, it's so important.
Yeah. Because I needed to live from what I was shooting.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. Was it scary though when you made that choice of that kind of change in career?
No, it wasn't scary back then. I don't know why, but no.
Well, that's cool. It's almost like photography's been a bit of a, so because you said you were kind of burned out, so it's been a bit of a savior almost then.
Yes. So I think I got so much energy from this because I found something that I love. I was able to work with and for people. I was able to do something creative, which is probably something innate that you need to do something with this. Whether it be photography or making music or whatever. If you have this creative thing in you, I think you have to there's some way that it needs to go out. And the third part is being an entrepreneur, so running a business. So those 3 parts came together for me in photography, and from there it evolved very quickly actually.
That's cool. And it sounds like it suits you down to the ground. It's great. And how are you finding now kind of working with your wife? Do you ever argue at a wedding or anything? Is it all good?
It's all good. Yeah. So people are surprised that I'm able to work with Janneke together in a wedding or at home, because our office is in our house. Right. But to us it works great. And sometimes, yes, you have to say, okay, this is work, and now we stop working. It's evening. We don't do anything, but we enjoy it. You know, so that's not. I mean, we don't take it as a bad thing if we will talk about work during our free time.
No, that's cool. It's great you can do that. At a wedding itself, do you have like specific roles each? Like, does one of you do bride prep and the other do groom prep, or do you just go with the flow?
Yeah, we go with the flow. Yeah. I think I have the lead. People contact me and they talk to me and they see me, so they consider me as a lead photographer, but probably can change in this year or next year.
Cool. I think it's great. I think it's great to have that working relationship. I really do.
Yeah.
Cool. Let's change tack slightly. Let's go for a small throwaway question here. What to you is the most important thing in life?
Ooh.
I know, deep, deep. I think it's just very interesting people's viewpoints on this.
Yeah, yeah, that's a good one, and that's a hard one as well. But
Mm,
if it deep down, um, yeah, if you go deep down, it comes to the core of who you are, and for me, what important is I'm Christian, and
right.
I think there you touch something for what is the most important in my life. Will be if I translate it well to English, I hope so. Will be loving God and loving your neighbor as yourself. So
Cool.
it's a very basic principle, but if you do everything based on that, I think you will get most out of life. Speaking for myself.
That's cool. No, great.
Yeah, yeah,
And that leads on actually so as well as doing your wedding photography, you do some political photography, don't
yeah,
you?
yeah, right.
And something that you've won an important Dutch photojournalism prize for as well. Can you tell us a bit more about that kind of stuff that you do and how maybe it's influenced the way you shoot weddings?
Yeah, yeah, it's very funny because it started as well in 2013 when I became a photographer. I didn't know right away that I was going to shoot so many weddings was a wedding photographer at some point. So at the same time, one of my friends from university got to work for a Dutch political party, and I saw they were hiring a photographer. It was very basic stuff. So they had some subjects and they wanted to have some imagery to accompany the text that they wrote about it. So I joined. I went there and had a good conversation, and they asked me to do the photos. So I did some very basic, like stock photography stuff for them, and
Right.
then say, okay, we're happy with that. Can you shoot our Congress, which is next month? Okay, I'm going to do that. So, and there were elections the year after. Okay, can you do the portraits for the elections? And can you do this and that and that? So that grew as well. And in 2017, we had the general elections in the Netherlands.
Right.
And well, because the imagery was very important for that election, and I mean for every election, to be honest, I think they asked me, "Can you make a proposal to do this? All the portraits of all the candidates. Can you follow our main candidate for a while? And can you do this and this and this?" So, I wrote a proposal to them. I'm going to be there from November, December until March, where the elections happened,
Well,
and that was great because it was really in the time where I had less weddings. I mean, in wintertime, I was able to follow the election campaign, and I said, okay, I'm going to shoot this, but please allow me to be there not only for this particular picture you asked for, but let me join the whole day. And that went on for a couple of months, especially from January till March. I had been following like sometimes 4 or 5 days a week. I've been following the main candidate together with his political assistant. So we were the 3 or 4 of us going through the Netherlands, and I was just documenting that. I was not interfering. I was just shooting what I saw, all little stories, what is happening, and because I was always there, I got all the freedom, and they really trusted me in what I make, and also in what I do, and also how I behaved being among them. So I was able to get very close, and that was I loved to do that, and it was very inspiring as well to do that, and it really also helped me in the more photojournalistic stuff, also in weddings. So I was forced to work in a specific way, which tends to work in weddings very well as well. Yeah.
right. Okay. And I've seen some of the work that you won that prize for,
Yeah.
and it's brilliant. And
Oh, thanks.
it's so good. Honestly, I'll put a link through to it as well. People should really
Yeah,
check it
yeah,
out.
that's nice. That's nice. And I like the thing that also comes with that is if you say you're a wedding photographer, sometimes people say, okay, if you don't know what to do, you can always become a wedding photographer like that. You know what I.
Yeah, I know what you mean. Yeah.
And I think also among photographers, like wedding photography is kind of the thing you're going to do if you don't know
How to do
what
anything
else
else.
to do. Yeah.
Do you think that's? I think I get that. Yeah, but do you think that's changing? I think it really should be changing that viewpoint now. You know,
No,
it's
I
such.
think it's changing, but I made it my mission to help change it more. Yeah, yeah, and I try to do that when I'm in The Hague, which is like the political center of the Netherlands. There are some photographers, some press photographers, which I really admire and look up to. But I got to know them. They got to know me. They see what I do, and they really see, I think, that it is possible to shoot a wedding in a very interesting journalistic way. So it works both ways to have interest in one's profession, in someone's specific subject of photography. And especially for me, it's interesting to see what press photographers and political photographers do. And I think it's interesting for them as well to see what we wedding photographers do, because we create this world as photographers. We look at each other's work. As wedding photographers, we also know what is happening, who is doing what, who is seeing each other. And I think sometimes we are too much creating this little world of wedding photography. And I think it's good to have all these contacts and to create this online world, but there's a world out there that doesn't specifically know what we do. I think a lot of people still think that taking wedding photos is putting a couple behind a tree and have them look to you, right?
Yeah, that's so true.
And that totally changed. And I think it's good that we as wedding photographers also show that to the world.
I couldn't agree with you more, and that's one of the main reasons of starting this reportage was to show that. So yeah, I couldn't agree with you more. That's cool.
Yeah.
When you talk to those, at those kind of political events, when you talk to other press photographers, do you mention how you're a wedding photographer as well, or do you not tell them?
They know by now.
Oh, do they? Yeah.
Yeah, because I started to get in touch with them, and also they see my work now on Instagram and Facebook. So that's nice. Yeah, we talk about it.
Okay, that's good, because it shouldn't be looked down upon at all. It's such hard work. It's so creative. It's art on the fly. You've got this one chance to create it as well. It's an amazing skill. It really is.
Uh-huh.
But yeah, I'm not going to get on my high horse about it.
No, you're right. I know. But it's good. It's good. I think it's good to realize that, and it's good at the same time for me, it's good to stay humble, to be close to myself, and to say, okay, in the end, we're just taking pictures. But it's fine. Also, it's finding balance in that. I think if you live a balanced life, it helps you.
Yeah, definitely. Do you, when you meet kind of maybe potential clients or Skype them or however you do that, do you talk to them about your political work as well?
Sometimes. Some do know. And the funny thing is that I also get weddings from that stuff.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah. But sometimes I mention it, and I have this. I got a certificate. Wow, so cool. I have a kind of a certificate. You won the first prizes, Dutch silver camera, and I have it in my office, so people can see it if they want. They can relate to that, and I'm going to talk about it.
It's a good talking point.
It's a good talking point. It's and not all the time, but it's not a problem. Sometimes people like it and are interested in that as well and want to hear about it. So then I talk about it.
That's very cool. No, it's great, man. It's great.
Yeah.
Okay, let's change tack slightly again now. What's the funniest thing that you've ever seen at a wedding? I know. I tried to think with these questions. I'm like, what was the funniest thing I've seen as well? It's quite hard, isn't it?
Do you know the answer? I mean, just putting back the question so I get more time to think about it.
Oh man, I know it's difficult, isn't it? When someone asks you that question, your kind of mind can go blank as well, because we've shot so many weddings.
Yes, I'm blank on that. I don't know. No, I see a lot of funny stuff. Maybe just simple. It will be the image that I. But it's not probably the image of the girl laying down.
Well, it's quite funny, but quite surreal as well.
But it is funny because it's a picture now, you know.
Yeah, I had for me personally, I think I don't know if people will be interested, but early on in my career, I had a bride who had drank, quite a lot, and at the end of the wedding, she lay down over the buffet, over all the kind of food and everything, literally laying on all the food, and wanted me to take a photo, and that was quite bizarre. But yeah, Anyway, let's move on from that.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Has there been a specific turning point in your career? You know, maybe perhaps a certain wedding or a certain award or something that has had a major impact on your career, do you think?
Yeah. It's a funny story, but not a funny thing. But it was, I think, it was among my first 5 weddings in 2013. I was at the time, I was discovering this world of wedding photography and how to behave and what to do and what not to do. And we were at the ceremony, and there was a white table, very nice, where the officiant was standing behind that table, but the keys of the car were on the table. So I thought, it's not very nice to see the keys of the car, having the keys of the car in the picture. So I moved the keys, and I thought, okay, I just put them in my pocket and we'll be laying them there somewhere else. Well, I totally forgot about the keys, and the ceremony was over, and I got to the other location, and I was waiting for waiting. yeah. And waiting, and at some point they arrived in just a normal car. And I was like, yeah, we couldn't find the keys of our car.
Oh, that's so funny.
And they were still in my pocket, and I was so ashamed. I was so ashamed. And it really was the biggest turning point in my early career. I will never, ever touch anything again. And I still stick to that. Yeah.
That is a cool lesson to learn. And what a way to learn.
They weren't mad. They weren't mad, happily. So luckily they weren't mad at me. So
that is good.
But it really taught me a lesson, you know. It was for me, okay, and still I see some other documentary photographers maybe touching stuff or putting a chair away or a table aside to have better light or whatever. And I'm fine with people doing that, but I'm not going there myself. I'm not doing that. Yeah. If the light is bad, I need to work harder to create something with the bad light. It was this rule was like written in my heart or whatever. Yeah.
What a way for it to happen. That's a great story. I love little stories like that. That's super. And it's good the couple were fine with it. Did you admit straight away, oh, I've got the keys?
Yeah, I had to admit, because I was there, oh shit. And then there were the keys.
Oh, that's funny. Yeah. Cool. Let's go on to can we talk about just because it's something I've never asked any photographers on the podcast, actually. I think it's something people would be interested in. Maybe how you do your editing at all, you know, maybe something about your workflow or any tips and advice that you've learned over the years.
Yeah, for me, it's important to back up straight away, but I think that's for everyone, and I think people can relate to that. So when I come back from a wedding, I will back up the stuff to 2 different hard drives, and it will go to Backblaze. I use the online system for having an online archive as well, and I try to cull the images as soon as possible. So usually I take Sunday off or Monday sometimes as well, if I have a Friday and Saturday wedding, which happens a lot in the Netherlands.
Oh, right, okay.
So Monday or Tuesday I will cull the images, and then I will cull them down until 500-600-ish, and then I go into Lightroom and I will edit all the images.
Cool.
In Lightroom. Yeah, so it's important for me to cull the images as soon as possible, because I can I have the moments that are important that are still in my head as well. And I think I realize when I cull them, I know which is the best picture.
Yeah, I think
because it's so fresh. I mean, does it make sense?
Yes, totally. I totally agree with that. And that's something that I learned as well, actually, because I used to call my weddings maybe a week or 2 after I've shot them. But now I'm like you, I call them the day after. So I know I can remember, oh, actually, I've got a better photo later on in the day, or it really helps, doesn't it? Yeah. Yeah,
exactly. And I try to play with that. So sometimes I just lay it down and I come back to a wedding 2 weeks after and try to call it then. But it's a totally different experience, because sometimes I wonder, have I really seen the best images? Because I found as well that I need distance in time from looking at my pictures, because it's difficult for me to look at my own work, to be honest, because I think I'm a perfectionist, as probably many more photographers are.
Yeah.
And I sometimes go like 6 or 7 months after a wedding, and I already have delivered them to my clients, and then I go through the pictures again, and I think, actually, it's quite okay. I can be happy with this result, which is very difficult for me to have like 2 months after the wedding when I deliver them. So I really want to work on that. So in order for me to be more happy with the series that I deliver, I think it's good to not be too hard on yourself.
Right. Yeah.
Because you see in the long term you won't be as hard as well.
Yeah, that's so true. I think just in general as photographers as well, we are so hard on our own work. It's quite, a lot of photographers don't sit back and appreciate that they're putting out some really good work there. We always see kind of the faults and the imperfections in our images, but it's good to sit back and think, well, actually, I did a pretty good job there.
Yeah, and I think it is very difficult. I mean, you have to learn that, but it helps. Like what I said, if you go for 6 months back and take a wedding from a half a year ago, and you go and see and go through this, and you see, okay, this I can be happy with this. Next time I try to do this with a wedding like 5 months ago and a wedding which is 4 months ago. It really helps me to make the distance shorter, looking at my own work, if it makes sense.
Yeah, no, I get that. That's cool. And how long in general does it take you to edit a wedding? Do you know?
It's difficult for me to edit it in one take, so it usually it takes me a day, but it will be during a week or so.
Right. Yeah. Do you use any kind of like keyboard shortcuts while you're editing? Or
I'm a huge fan of Motibodo.
Oh, cool. Okay.
Yeah. So some people say it works, some people use Fixer or whatever, but I use Motibodo for 4 or 5 years, and sometimes it's difficult with the updates of Lightroom and updates of macOS. It goes wrong, so I'm very reluctant always in updating my stuff. But Motibodo helps me tremendously in my workflow, in the speed of editing. Because if you see a picture which is too dark or which is whatever, too light, if you see in your head the end result, and if you're able with Motibodo to quickly go to that end result, well, that's good.
Yeah, definitely. That's cool. Great. Cool. Thanks for that. That's great. I'd like to go to a question that This Is Reportage member wanted to ask you, actually, which Kim Burrows would like to know about your use of lighting, if you stick mostly with natural light or use a lot of artificial, and if so, what kind of equipment are you using?
Yeah, I think over the years I'm trying to work with lighter gear, or less gear, to be honest, because I'm shooting Canon, so it's not lighter gear. So lighting is an important part for that, and I think throughout the day I can go with just 2 flashes, which I barely use. I use most of artificial light will be used in the evening during party. It will be 2-3 flashes.
Right. Okay.
And during the day I try to go with natural light, because I don't have to use flashlight. I don't use it. It's not that I can't use it, but I don't use it.
No, that's good. Do you ever use flash for speeches?
Oh yes, for speeches as well. So during dinner, and when I have speeches, dinner usually is a bit darker, so it helps me to create a more like dramatic effect, probably with flashes. And I think it's just nice to light people.
Yeah, cool. I mean, it looks great in your work, totally. Really good.
So usually during speeches, it will be 2 flashes, one pointed towards the best man or father or whoever is speeching, and one towards the couple.
Right.
And I think my main objective will be, or the funny thing for me, the thing to play with, will be to have an overall image with both the like the father and the couple in one image. That will be great. If it's lit very well, I love that.
That's cool. Yeah. Cool. Awesome. Thank you. Thanks. That's awesome. Let's change tack again slightly now to another very important question that I haven't asked in a while. Do you eat the canapes?
Oh, yes. But
But there's a but to that.
It's the most important question. I forgot you were going to ask this. but I'm not going. I'm not going to be the first one to have one.
No, that's good. That's good. Wait till at least one person has had one.
Yeah, yeah. No, and then still, I see. Yeah, I'm kind of just waiting for the right moment.
Yeah,
And I see if there's something left or whatever.
I know.
And I mean, if it's like a reception and everyone is standing and you walk around, you can be very uh, um, you can think about how you are going to walk in order to see how the waitress is walking.
Yeah.
Oh, there you are. Hi. Do you want something? Oh yeah. So makes sense.
Yeah, no, that's cool, definitely. And I know some photographers say they like get the waiter over to say, "Oh, can I just take a photo of them?" And then they take one.
Oh yeah, that's a good one. I never done that, but I can do that. Yeah.
Oh, there's all these different techniques.
Sometimes, yeah, it's a good technique. But usually when they have a full plate, I want to take a picture, but I don't dare to take I take a picture and don't dare to take one.
Yeah, I don't either, to be honest.
Because still, I will be the first one then,
Yeah.
Oh, it's dilemmas. That's very ethical there.
That's funny. Okay. Has there been, I'm quite interested in this as well. Has there been a book that you've read in your life that's had a lasting impact on you in some way? It could be fiction or non-fiction.
I read a lot of books when I was younger. I think it's a pity, but I don't read so much anymore these days. I want to read more, so it's difficult for me just to pick one book. It's like saying what's the most funny thing you ever experienced.
What's the funniest thing you've ever experienced?
No, you already asked that.
No, I know. Yeah,
yeah. It's the same thing for me. I kind of get totally blank, and
it is a tricky question, isn't it?
It's a tricky question. It's the same with what's your favorite movie of
What's your favorite movie?
Yeah. Okay, I went to see 1917 yesterday, so now it's 1917.
I really want to watch that. Is it good?
Yeah. I recommend everyone who hasn't seen it or just go and see 1917 because the way this is made is it's astonishing. It's great.
Oh, cool.
It's a masterpiece. It's really, you can see by seeing it one time, you see, okay, this is going to last. This is going to be a masterpiece.
Oh man. I really want
masterpiece. Sometimes you say this is going to be a masterpiece if like The Godfather is a masterpiece, but
do you know I've never seen The Godfather actually.
Oh no, I've never seen Star Wars. So
really? That's funny.
I don't know why I'm saying that, but
no, that's cool. I really want to watch 1917. I'll hopefully go on Friday to see that actually.
Yeah. No, it's a film. It's for people who create something with imagery. It's a must see. Even for a photographer, you think, okay, how did he do this? How,
right. Because it's supposed to be filmed in the style of like one long take. It isn't one long take, is it? But isn't it supposed to be filmed in that kind of style, so it looks like one long take?
Yes, it looks like one take. I don't go into spoilers there, but no, it looks like one take, and it has the span of like 24 hours roughly. In 2 hours, so it couldn't be one take, obviously, but still, it looks like one take. It's great. Yeah.
I'm gonna check it out. I will check it out. Yeah. Hopefully Friday. I think I've read that you have a mentor, and I know you also offer mentoring yourself. So yes. I just wondered how do you find that being both the mentor and the mentoree? I don't think that's a proper word, but you know what I mean. Like,
I get the point.
How do you find that?
Yeah, I think for me it's important to have a mentor because I never studied photography. I mean, you can study photography by just looking at others, but I think it's very helpful to have someone looking at your work and to discuss your work on a regular basis with. And I have had several photography mentors, and currently it is Tyler working.
Oh, cool! Yeah, Docu Man.
Yeah,
awesome.
Exactly.
Yeah. I was just wondering actually how did you find your mentors? Did you specifically have some photographers in mind, even if they maybe weren't offering mentorships, and approach them, or did you look for photographers who were specifically offering mentorships?
I do look for photographers who offer mentorships.
Right. Okay.
But to be honest, I never thought of that question in that way. I also could ask photographers if they want to give mentoring, but I asked to a photographer once and she said, okay, no, I don't do this. I I don't know exactly what I can offer you, so I don't do it. So, but that's okay then as well.
Yeah.
But yeah, Tyler Work and I had mentorships with Kelly Rashka and Sergio.
Oh, cool.
They
Quite a few.
really, yeah, they really helped me. They really made me better photographers. Yeah, yeah.
That's great. And how have you found now? Because you're a mentor yourself for other people. How have you found that? Do you enjoy that?
I do enjoy that, but at the same time, I think it's difficult because you see very quickly the questions people have are not technical. I mean, people know how to take pictures. They want to get better at it, so you can help them that slightly. I see the questions people have are very often going into the field of psychology. I mean, about
Yeah.
health, about mental stuff. And I'm not a psychologist, so sometimes sometimes it's a tricky part to say, okay, I'm a mentor. I'm going to say how you need to do this, how you need to do that. But yeah, it's difficult sometimes for me. So it's not something I'm very specific on who I'm going to mentor.
Oh, okay, right.
Yeah, and I want to know what people are asking for. I want to know what people are looking for and what they are struggling with.
Mm.
And when I know that, I say to them, okay, I can probably help you with that. But if you are struggling with the more like mental stuff, I'm not the right person because I'm a photographer. I'm not a psychologist.
Right, sure. Yeah.
Yeah, and
No, that's cool.
I think that more and more people are offering mentorships, and I think that's great and that's good because we can learn from each other. But at the same time, I think it's good to realize that we're photographers and that we are not the ones that are able to help people with the more mental stuff.
Yeah, that's cool. Yeah, definitely a good way of looking at it. And yeah, it does make sense. We're not psychologists.
No,
True.
right?
Unless you happen to have a degree in
Oh
psychology.
yeah,
But,
true. I know photographers who have a degree in psychology, and I say, oh, that's a gold mine. It makes your business, make it your business.
yeah. No, that's cool. I think you've got two boys, haven't you? Is that right?
Yes, that's
Yeah.
right. Two boys.
How do you find being a dad, and being a wedding photographer as well? Do they understand what you do every weekend, and do they want to be wedding photographers when they grow up?
Ooh, the last thing, I don't know. I haven't heard them talking about that in that way, but they understand what I do. Sometimes it's difficult or different, I need to say, because um, I'm not at home in the weekend. Like I'm shooting a wedding on Saturday, so I need to find the time during the week with them, which is different from friends of theirs, with people with just 9 to 5 jobs. Um, but I'm not going to change with those people. So we need, we have to find a way to work with that, and I think it works for us. But sometimes you need to find the right time or to make the time during the week. So I try to say, okay, this is a Wednesday, which I'm not working, and I'm going to do something with the boys because I'm away on Saturday. Yeah.
And we're lucky that we can do that though as well. We see, especially when our kids are very young, I think we get to see them more often than a father who's working a 9 to 5 job.
I think so. I think that is true. So I try to be happy with that and enjoy it as much as possible because I also see sometimes it's difficult. I mean, you have a business which needs attention, which needs energy, which needs to grow. But at the same time, I realize, okay, this is the only time I can spend with the boys.
Yeah, it's tricky. It's so tricky because, oh yeah, one is so important for the other as well. You have to have the business so you can provide for your family
Yes.
as well.
Yeah.
Oh, it's so tricky, and I totally relate to that as
It's
well.
going to be a cliche for me, but it's also there. It's about balance.
Oh, it's so important. It's such an important theme. You're so right. Oh, I was gonna say something there. Oh yeah, about do you show your wedding images to your sons? Do they like them?
Yeah, they like them. They're very proud,
Oh,
Sometimes
that.
they say, "Oh, my father is one of the best photographers in the world." They tell their
Oh,
friends, so that's great.
that's
And then
great.
really at that point, then I'm going to believe it is true.
If your boys say it is
If
true.
if they say so, it's true.
It is true though. Anyway, man, you're
No,
awesome.
I don't want to say that because no, it doesn't.
I
It
can say
doesn't.
it. I can say it. It's okay.
Okay, if you say.
So I think you, along with you founded Best Men Weddings with I might let you say his name in case I pronounce it totally right. Is it Jesse Van Karmfelt or
Yes. Very good, very
was
good.
that
Yes,
okay? Okay.
it's a bit, I hear you're British by saying that, but yes, van Gogh. Yeah, but we have best man weddings, which is great. That's a funny story as well. I got to know Jesse at one of the first workshops I followed with Jeff Ascot.
Oh, right. Okay. Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know.
So yeah, he quickly became a good friend, and we got to shoot some weddings. So every year we do 2, 3, 4, 5 weddings together.
Cool. Are
And
they more abroad, are they?
yeah, they're more abroad, so they're more like Spain, Italy, France, mostly Italy actually, because we both love Italy. I love Italy, Jesse loves Italy, so we go there, and I've been in several places in Italy, and I think it's fun to do something like shooting a wedding with a good friend,
That's cool.
where yeah.
Cool. Well, what was the idea? What was the
Oh,
original idea for that
sorry,
then?
we've been in the UK once as well, actually,
Oh, have you? Oh, cool. Where did you shoot?
in Ascot.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Nice.
yeah, and then near Ascot, they lived near Ascot. We had to go to Cane Manor, which is
Oh, yeah, I've shot there.
yeah.
Yeah, I have a few years ago. It's a nice
That was
place.
a few years ago as well. It's a nice place. Where it was in November, a bit drooly, rainy weather. So typical British actually, but
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, I think you're probably better doing more weddings in Italy. That's probably a bit nicer.
yeah, I don't know. Yeah.
It's cool that you've got that different arm though, a
Yeah,
kind of
yeah,
side business
yeah.
as
It's
well.
not a necessity, but it's just for fun. And if there's the possibility, we go together, and mostly abroad, like you said. Actually, yeah, yeah.
Cool. No, good stuff. Good stuff. Let's change tack again slightly. If you could be someone else for a day, living or dead, who would you be? It's a bizarre question.
It's a bizarre question, but I think it will be Pete Souza.
Oh, really? Oh, cool.
Yeah, he inspired me obviously a lot with being the photographer of Obama, and I met him actually 2 years ago.
Oh, really? Cool. What was that like?
Yeah, he was in the Netherlands for the World Press. He gave a speech at the World Press, and I was there just after I won the Silver Camera
Oh, cool.
Awards, and then the chairman of the Silver Camera introduced me to him, like he's our Dutch Pete Souza. And I was like, oh, no, don't do that. Yeah, but it was fun, and I think it will be interesting to shoot like he did for so long. I mean, he was Obama's photographer since 2005,
Oh,
right
right.
until 2012. I think it was his life.
Wow.
And
Yeah, just photographing one person for that amount
yes,
of time.
yes, yeah.
I mean, you did a lot when you were covering that one candidate and his assistant for so long as well.
Yes, but it was 4 months, and it felt like, okay, this was like huge. But then if you compare it to like what Pete Souza did, it's great. It's crazy what he did. And I think in a consistent and good way he shot. It's amazing. Yeah.
That's cool. I wonder how many images he took in total.
Oh yeah. He
Um,
shared it somewhere, but I forgot how many it were.
oh, really? I bet it's more than 1,000.
Oh yeah. Oh, it's a good question. Sometimes people come up to me at weddings and they say, "So, how many pictures you already taken?"
Mm.
I'm like, well, at least 10.
Yeah. And they're all awful.
And then they're like, huh?
I know. I do that as well. It's funny, isn't it? It's
Yeah.
funny. What are you afraid of?
Snakes.
Are you? Yeah. That's funny. Have you ever held one?
No. I was 5 years old, and we have in the Netherlands, in the south of the Netherlands, there's a zoo with only reptiles, and I had nightmares for 3 weeks. And there, my well, it's not afraid. I'm scared to death of snakes and reptiles.
Oh no. Yeah. And they're not. Have you seen? Is there a film called Snakes on a Plane?
No, I don't dare to do that.
Okay, that's funny. Okay.
But in a more specific way, or in a more serious way, talking about what am I afraid of, is am I going to get enough clients the next year?
Mm.
Yeah. how is my business going to survive in 5 years? And then I think, okay, what am I thinking of 5 years? I just need to make sure I'm doing my work in a proper way today, and then I need to go do that tomorrow again and the day after tomorrow.
Yeah.
So sometimes I'm an overthinker, which is sometimes a problem.
But I think so many photographers will relate to that. Same here, worrying or thinking about the future. And is my business going to carry on doing okay? Am I going to be able to pay the mortgage?
Exactly.
It's hard to live in the here and now and appreciate what's happening now. I think we've always got our eye on the future, and it means we're sometimes not living at all, really, because we're always
No.
thinking about the future.
Yeah, yeah. And in order to get more grip on that, I started to not only do photography workshops and stuff, but also more into the business stuff and the mindset stuff.
Right.
And I think that really helps. It helps you to be more present, to be more in the moment, also regarding your business. So that's a good thing.
When you've done your mentorships, have they always been very photography specific, or do you also talk about business in general as well?
Yeah, I talk about business in general, but with the photographers, they're more photography oriented.
Right. Okay.
Last year, I took a totally different approach with going to a business coach, who has nothing to do with photography or at all.
Oh, okay.
But with business and with goals in your business and with your mindset.
Was that good? Was that work out well?
Yeah, I recommend it to everyone. I mean, if you're new in business, and when you're a photographer for like the first 4-5 years, you can get energy from learning stuff in photography. But at some point, I came to a point that I needed to learn also about myself. I needed to learn about running a business in a proper way. So when you are at a certain point, you start yourself asking questions. What am I going to do next year? How I'm going to keep on being a photographer? What is the next step to take? I think that is the point you really need to think about yourself and need to make sure you go and broaden and widen that perspective of your business as well.
Great advice. Great advice. Cool. So I think we've got time just for one last question. It's
Yeah,
gone so quick. I'm just looking at the clock. Wow, that's gone so quickly. So what would be your top tips for people just starting out in the industry? I think a lot of people listen to this podcast from all different kind of ranges of where they are at business, but some are obviously just starting out. So, you've done so well and you've done so many weddings so quickly and won so many awards. Just wondering what would be your top tips for people kind of just beginning or starting out?
What helped me won't necessarily help someone else. So I think that's important to know that everyone has his own path and everyone has his own approach in becoming successful or not. And I think that the most important thing for me when I look back was I invested a lot. I invested not in gear or in stuff, but in knowledge. So I went to a lot of workshops from different photographers, which helped me to quickly learn to see light. That was important because when I got to see the light, I was able to see the moments happening in the light. Right. I was able to compose those. So I took it from there, and I really invested everything that I earned. And my wife was in the beginning. My wife was like, "Okay, is it really necessary to go to do this?" But I think on the long term, it helped me to grow my business faster than I was able to grow it when I didn't go and see all these other photographers.
Yeah. Right, sure. Yeah.
And it's important to take what you can from other photographers, but not to copy them, to make it your own and to have their techniques help you in developing your own style. Does that make sense?
Oh yeah, definitely. Yeah. And not to get downhearted though when you do look at other wedding photographers' work as well, and not comparing it.
Yeah, exactly. That's a good point. So at some day, I looked at a lot of other photographers and I saw a lot of their work, but there has a point that you say, okay, I'm going to unfollow this photographer. I'm going to turn this notifications off because it doesn't help me anymore. It is more of an obstacle now in my way of seeing new stuff, of getting energized, of being creative in the things that I do. So at this point, I'm going to look less and less to other photojournalistic documentary style wedding photographers because it doesn't help me anymore.
Right, sure.
Because
Cool.
I still love their work. I mean,
Oh yeah, no, I understand.
there's so many great photographers, but now it helps me just to slightly look to look, because I get inspired by photography. I want to look at images, and I don't not only look into weddings, but more in like the press photographers. And they're because Pete Suze are now retired, but there's still great photographers in the US, for instance, but also in the Netherlands. We have some great photographers, and I really, really enjoy looking at their work. Yeah.
That's cool. That's great to get inspiration from outside the wedding industry as well, like that. Yeah, awesome. Cool. Oh, Leonard, man, thank you so much.
Yeah, I hope. Yeah, it was so quick, man, and I hope I was able to tell something in a good way.
Oh, you're brilliant. So much great advice and great stories. Honestly,
Yeah, because now I see, okay, in my head it pops up in Dutch, and I need to translate it into English quickly, and sometimes I couldn't find it.
Man, you speak English absolutely amazingly. If I could speak another language, even just 1% of how you speak English, I would be so happy.
Yeah.
So honestly, it's an amazing skill, and just what you spoke about. You speak English better than a lot of English people. You really do. So honestly, it's great. It was so good, and you gave so much great advice, and just so interesting about you and your life as well. Thank you. It was awesome.
Yeah, thank you. I mean, because I love the podcast. I love what you create with This Is Reportage, and I hope that if I can only contribute a little to this and give back in that way, that would be a pleasure for me.
Oh, and you really have massively. Thank you. And everyone who's maybe listening, as I say, if you're running now or in the car, do check out thisreportage.com. So I'll put links to Leonard's work and his political work that he won that Silver Camera Prize for as well. And you also wrote a This Is How piece for us a while ago about one of your images. So I'll link to that as well, because that was a really good read. And also hopefully I'll get to meet you in the flesh one day.
Yes. We need to make sure that happens. Yeah,
definitely. It will happen at some point. It will.
Yeah, cool. Looking forward to it already.
Well, awesome, man. Thanks so much again, and hopefully see you sometime in the future.
Yes, thank you, man.
Bye.
See you, Alan. Bye.
You've been listening to the 15th episode of the This Is Reportage podcast. Leonard was so great to talk to. Hope you enjoyed listening. Head to thisisreportage.com to see the specific Reportage Award that Leonard talks about in the podcast, as well as links to his political photography and more of his fab wedding work too. Whilst you're there, you might want to check out our latest awards. The Collection 13 winners were just announced, and the standard is just incredible. If you enjoyed the podcast today, you can subscribe to our show on iTunes to be notified when each new weekly episode is ready, bringing you advice, tips and backstories from some of the world's best photographers each week. And if you have a few minutes to give us a review, that will be massively appreciated. Each review increases the chance of these fab people getting heard by more and more listeners. And if you're not yet a member of TIR, check out all the benefits of joining us, including an unlimited number of images in your profile, 60 Reportage Award and 18 Story Award entries per year, invites to our physical meetups and parties, exclusive discounts and more. No poses, nothing staged. This is Reportage. And this is bye for now.